Welcome back. Today, we're jumping right into a massive, wild, and absolutely fascinating explainer. I mean, have you ever looked at a microscopic sponge, a creeping crocodile, and a soaring eagle and wondered how they all actually relate to each other? Well, we're going to decode the fundamental biological blueprint that connects every single living animal. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this because the sheer scale of our plant's biodiversity it's mind-blowing. Biologists have described over 1 million animal species so far. I mean, think about that number for a second. Over 1 million. If you were to just list them out randomly, it would be absolute chaos. So to understand nature in depth, we need a system. We literally need a way to assign a systematic position to every newly described species, just so we can understand its place in this giant puzzle of life. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with organizing 1 million species, look at the biological blueprint, explore the invertebrate majority, examine the rise of the chordates, and finally, trace the vertebrate family tree. Section 1. Organizing 1 million species. The need for order. The big takeaway right off the bat is that we aren't just grouping animals based on how they look on the surface, right? Like a dolphin resembles a shark, sure, but biologically, they are vastly different. Instead, classification is based on fundamental, shared physiological features. We're looking at the hidden architecture, the arrangement of their cells, their body symmetry, the nature of their body cavity, and the specific patterns of their digestive or circulatory systems. That's what really matters. Section 2. The biological blueprint, rules of the game. Think of building an animal kind of like building a house. You have to start with the foundation. And this brilliantly illustrates how that works. Notice how it starts out with all multicellular animals, and then immediately forks based on the level of organization. So if an animal is just a loose aggregate of cells, like Porifera, the sponges, it gets sorted straight to the top. But if those cells actually form tissues or organ systems, we move down to the next fork, symmetry. Do they have radial symmetry, like a wheel, or bilateral symmetry where the left and right sides mirror each other? Every single branch you see here represents a major physiological design choice. To really grasp this in depth, let's break down those core blueprint rules, because they create massive forks in the evolutionary road. First up, the level of organization, going from simple cellular clusters all the way up to complex organ systems. Second, symmetry, asymmetrical, radial, or bilateral. And third, the body cavity, or the colum. Does the animal have a fluid-filled cavity between its gut and its body wall? If not, it's an acolumate, like a flatworm. If it does, well, it's a columate, and that cavity acts like a built-in internal shock absorber. It's a game changer because it allows for much more complex internal organ development, since the organs can actually move and grow independently of the outer body wall. Now, as these bodies get more complex, we start to see some truly fascinating structural innovations. Take metamerism, for example. If you've ever looked closely at an earthworm, you've seen this firsthand. It's when the body shows a pattern of repeating segments. It's literally like building an animal out of modular Lego bricks. This modularity gives them a huge advantage for movement and specialization, and it's absolutely crucial for how we categorize higher invertebrates. Section 3. The invertebrate majority, the first divergence. Now, what's really interesting about this slice of the data is the sheer dominance it represents. Over 2/3 of all named species on Earth belong to a single phylum, the arthropods. When we say animals, most of us probably picture lions or bears, right? But statistically speaking, the animal kingdom is overwhelmingly an empire of insects, spiders, and crustaceans. No contest. So you've got to wonder, why are arthropods so incredibly successful? Well, it all comes down to their highly optimized biological blueprint. They're rocking a tough chitin exoskeleton, essentially wearing their armor on the outside. And their name literally spells out their secret weapon. Arthros means joint, and poda means appendages. Having jointed limbs combined with that segmented armor gives them unmatched mobility. They can adapt to almost every single environment on the planet. But hey, the invertebrate world is packed with other wild extremes too. You've got Porifera, those primitive sponges whose entire existence relies on just pumping water through microscopic pores. Then you have Ctenophora, the comb jellies, and get this, many of them actually glow in the dark using bioluminescence. You also have the flat-bodied platyhelminthes, which you'll often find as internal parasites. And of course, there's Mollusca. That's the second largest phylum, featuring these soft, unsegmented bodies that are often protected by a heavy calcareous shell. Think snails and oysters. Section 4. Rise of the chordates, the notochord leap.
So, the crucial point we've reached now is the mechanism that separates them from us, the notochord. It sounds super complex, right? A mesodermally derived rod-like structure formed on the dorsal side during embryonic development. But honestly, this single rod-like structure is the primary dividing line in the entire animal kingdom. If you have this structural rod at some point in your life cycle, boom, you are a chordate.
Let's do a quick comparison of these two massive groupings. Non-chordates, running all the way from those simple sponges to starfish, completely lack a notochord. Chordates, on the flip side, possess this notochord, along with a dorsal hollow nerve cord and paired pharyngeal gill slits. This isn't just a minor detail. It represents a huge fundamental leap in biological plumbing and internal framework. It literally paved the way for larger, faster, and way more complex life forms. Section 5. The Vertebrate Family Tree. Culmination of complexity. Let's slow down for a second and look in depth at a few specific classes within the vertebrates, just to see how form really dictates function. Take class Reptilia. The very name of this class is derived straight from their physiological mode of locomotion. The Latin words repere or reptum literally mean to creep or to crawl. So their entire classification is inherently tied to how their specific skeletal blueprint moves them through the physical world. Pretty cool, right? And yet, look at the immense visual variety this single class can produce based on that one core, creeping blueprint. On one side, you have the heavily armored, semi-aquatic bulk of the crocodile. But on the other, the incredibly agile, tree-climbing, camouflage expert chameleon. They look drastically different on the surface, but deep down, they share the exact same fundamental, cold-blooded, creeping reptilian foundation. Now, as we move even further up that tree of complexity, we hit the warm-blooded classes. Class Aves, the birds, took those creeping forelimbs and radically modified them into wings, covering their bodies in feathers so they could actually fly. And then there is class Mammalia. This is us. Our defining traits: the unique presence of milk-producing mammary glands to nourish our young, and having hair on our skin. Whether it's a massive blue whale diving in the ocean, a bat flying through a cave, or a human walking down the street, these are the shared, foundational blueprint features that unite us all. Okay, let's move to and see how this all builds into an elegant, big picture view. Here is a really handy cheat sheet summarizing our in-depth dive today. You can easily trace the leap in complexity here. Look at Porifera on the top. Varied symmetry, no column, no segmentation. Totally basic. Then skip down to the arthropods, highly organized with bilateral symmetry, a true column, and very clear segmentation. And finally, Chordata, sharing that advanced bilateral and collimate structure, but bringing entirely new internal skeletal mechanics to the table. So from simple cellular clusters all the way to the highly complex nervous systems of mammals, these rules of classification give us a way to literally read the history of life on Earth. But remember, we've only described about 1 million species. The vast majority of the deep ocean and the dense canopies of our rainforests, they remain completely unexplored. So I'm going to leave you with this. What entirely new, undiscovered biological blueprints are still out there, just waiting in the dark, ready to challenge absolutely everything we know about the animal kingdom? Thanks for exploring this with us today, and keep questioning the world around you.